One of the Alaskan volcanoes is overdue to erupt, but we may now finally know what is stopping the eruption. Geologists expect the West Dal Peak volcano to erupt again, and it still sits intact and restless, pointing to flaws in our predictive models. It last erupted 2010. Trying to accurately warn when volcanoes will explode and go boom is a critical but tricky business to protect surrounding people, of course, and reduce aviation risks. We have a lot of planes going over the Aleutian Islands of Alaska. So many factors must be considered, and this lack of explosion has highlighted one that has mostly been overlooked. Geologist Lillian Lucas said, volcanic forecasting involves a lot of variables, including the depth and the size of the volcano's magma chamber, of course, the rate at which magma fills that chamber, and the strength of the rocks that contain the chamber, to name a few. Located in western Alaska along the Aleutian Island chain, the West Dal Peak Shield volcano last blew in a series of eruptions between 1991 and 1992. The volcano has continued to swell since and is threatening more action to come, with an active magma chamber bubbling away around 4.47 miles or 7.2 kilometers underneath its surface. Now, recently, geologists told us that the Aleutian Islands have a hot spot, and it could be that all these islands there are part of a supervolcano. But going back to this, its most obvious feature of the West Dal Peak Shield volcano that differs from many volcanoes elsewhere in the world is that a 1 kilometer thick ice cap blankets the West Dal Peak volcano. Our numerical experiments indicate that the presence of an ice cap, 1 to 3 kilometers thick, increases the average response interval for a magma system, Lucas and her colleague write in their paper. And using computer simulations, University of Illinois, researchers found a linear relationship between ice cap thickness and the volume changes needed within the volcano to overcome the strength of the encasing rock and explode. It's also dependent on the production rate of magma at the volcano, the magma flux, in other words. So taking into account the magma chamber size, geometry, the magma flux, the team calculated that for the West Dal system, the pressure from the ice cap adds around 7 years of dormancy compared to models without the ice cap. These increases in time may seem insignificant to a geological scale, but it is significant on the human time scale. This is what geologist Patricia Gregg explains. She said, going forward, it will be important to account for glacial ice cover in future forecasting models. However, while the ice cap may account for some of West Dal's unexpected stability, there's still more to the story. The researchers caution their study assumed constant flux, which does not capture the dynamics of other systems, such as those that have been long dormant. They write, we do not know how close to failure the system is currently, and recent geodetic data have not yet been investigated to update our estimates of the system's flux rate. So they have a lot of work to do to figure out more concerning this type of a theory. They said if the flux into West Dal's magma reservoir has slowed in recent years while the system remains close to failure, seasonality may ultimately play a larger role than would be expected. A volcano's shape and depth are still the biggest factors in delays before an eruption. However, when the system approaches a certain threshold and flux is slow, the weight of ice cap comes more into play, the team says, and to the point where even seasonal variations in the ice above may be enough to trigger it to blow. Therefore, it will be important to consider how climate change and glacial ice melt might impact West Dal Peak and other high-latitude volcanoes in the future. This is what geologist Jan Zan explains. And Lucas concludes accounting for overlying pressure from polar ice caps is another critical yet poorly understood variable. This was published in Frontiers in Earth Science, and it's on Science Alert by Tessa Koumouduros. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.